Now?
Now, yes.
Okay, so the focus of this research is going to be based on smartphone usage influences on African American senior adults' personal well-being. The purpose of this qualitative descriptive study is to explore how African American senior adults describe the influences of smartphone usage on personal well-being, positive emotions, engagement, and relationships in the US. Based on the background of the problem, since the existence of smartphone technologies in 2007, when Apple first released its first iPhone, a lot of individuals have gravitated towards these devices worldwide. A lot of researchers has followed the trends to show how smartphone technologies influences personal well-being, but they have shown this from a younger generation's perspective. They have also shown how older generations are not likely to use these digital technologies. Some of the reasons being due to low crystallized intelligence, lack of social support, lack of affordability, and also issues, age-related issues related to cognitive and mental debilitations. Various researchers have shown how smartphone technologies influences the well-being of individuals, but the majority of the research has shown it from a younger generation's perspective. Recent researchers has shown how technologies in smartphones has influenced the well-being of older generations. However, there still remains to be a gap in literatures to show how smartphone technologies influences the well-being of old generations, meaning those over the age of 65, and more so older adults more so African American senior adults over the age of 65. Based on the theoretical foundation, Martin Seligman's well-being theory is going to be used. The various elements that is going to be extracted and expanded upon for the purposes of the literature review is going to be positive emotions, engagement, and relationships. The problem statement aligns with the purpose statement. The research questions also aligns with the purpose statement. Based on the phenomena, because smartphones has become um, ubiquitous in societies and in human lives, it has become an essential as well as a distraction. It has also become a mediator and moderator to personal well-being based on from all generations, backgrounds, and various demographics. Based on the methodology, the quantitative methodology is not going to be used because it is based on a determining the relationship between variables, and is also based on determining statistical significance. Mixed method is not going to be used because it is based on gathering two separate sets of data, one based on a quantitative approach and one based on a qualitative approach. And due to time constraints, that is not going to be used. For the design, the phenomenological design is not going to be used because it is primarily based on lived experiences, and not everyone share the same experience. Case study is not going to be used because it is based on bounded systems. Narratives are not going to be used because they are based on telling stories, and here we're not trying to tell a story. We're also not trying to construct a new model or theory, so we're not going to use the grounded theory. Based on the population, target population, and the sample, the focus of the population is going to be all African American senior adults over the age of 65 who resides in the US and who are smartphone users. The sample is going to be those that are more likely to participate in the research study. And for those populations, from that sample, we're going to get 40 semi-structured interviews and 40 questionnaires and 15 to 20 semi-structured interviews. For the data source, we're going to be using questionnaires, which is going to be based on the sampling, convenient sampling approach. For the semi-structured interviews, we're going to be using a purposive approach. We're going to go through all of the approval processes that has been set in place by GCU, going from getting the site approval all the way down to getting an informed consent from all the participants. For the sampling approach, again, it's going to be based on ease of accessibility to the participant, which is going to be based on a social media website of Facebook. The sampling selection is going to be based on getting African American senior adults over the age of 65 who resides in the US and who are smartphone users, getting 40 questionnaires, 20 semi-structured interviews, or until we reach data saturation. For the management, we're going to save the information to an external hard drive, and it's going to be stored in a safe location where only the researcher have access to this information. Information will also be downloaded to the LDP website for a QR in the committee for to review. Information will be de-identified to protect the confidentiality and anonymity of the participants. Information will be stored. Information will be saved for up to 3 years, of which thereafter it will be permanently destroyed. Questionnaires for the analysis phase. Information will be downloaded, compiled, and organized. It'll be summarized and placed into a table or chart, and results will be revealed based on the questionnaires. For these semi-structured interviews, information will be triangulated, it will be hand-coded, and it'll go through memory checking. It'll also go through the six-phase thematic analysis process set in place by Braun and Clark. And that is the end.
Well, I don't know about that because you still have 21 seconds.
Really?
Yeah. So if we were in residency, I would be looking at my colleagues and then turning to you and standing up and say, that was an exemplar defense.
Really? Yay!
Was an exemplar defense.
Thank you.
That was just brilliant.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Oh my gosh, it was so good.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So when you get your chair, you just send the recording to him or her and say, okay, I'm ready to have my prospectus approved.
Really? So you're going to send it to me and I can just send that to them?
Well, I was just thinking, I'd never thought of it before, but it would be like, you did such a good job. It was like, well, I'm done, man. I'm moving on.
Oh, yay.
So what was it that caused you to get onto this topic?
Well, I originally started the topic because I have always, every time I go out, I look around and everybody's always on their smartphones. I don't care where you go, in the movie theater, at the dinner table, at the restaurants, everywhere you go, walking up and down the street.
Yeah.
Everybody is on their cell phones.
Yeah.
Something is like, dang, smartphones has really become like a major distraction. It's like nobody, and it's like I have asked people several times. It'd be 4 to 6 people sitting at the table. I will lean over to them and ask them like, are you guys texting one another?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's like and it's like I look at them like, honey, nobody's talking to each, and I tell my husband like nobody's talking to each other. Look how engaged they are in their cell phones. So that is one of the reasons why I wanted to engage in smartphones, whatever. And it's like my professional background is primarily in technology, so I want to stick with the technological aspect of the research.
Yeah.
But in reference to like gathering information, and it's like I have become I have developed a interest in how smartphone technologies influences African American senior adults. This was even before the pandemic struck.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
a lot of older individuals, mainly my husband, he's over 65. And I'm like, you don't use technology, blah, blah. Do you know how beneficial this could be for you, whatever, blah, blah. And then it's like, I started looking around, like a lot of older individuals don't use technology or they use it in a limited capacity.
I think I said in residency about, when you say that, I always go back to NCIS and give with this flip phone and how they give us
when I first met him, he had the very first iPhone and it was in 2015. I'm like, are you serious?
Wow.
He still had the iPhone 1.
Wow. Yeah. But
I don't need all that. I just need the dollar number and do it. I said, but it's so much more that you can do with a phone.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny to watch him in a show with that darn flip phone.
Yes.
Such a great study. Oh,
yeah,
so
yeah. But I had a question for you.
All right.
Somebody asked me this question, and this is one of the girls from residence. She was like, well, how are you able to do like older population that is 65 and over with them being a protected class, and also with them being African American, more of a minority group?
They're not a protected class. No.
Okay. And then I did tell her, like, for the city training, whatever, there was some city trainings in there that I took upon myself to complete based on that generation or for older populations.
So where it would be a vulnerable population is if you were asking them, say for example, about their experience in Vietnam. That makes them vulnerable because it's about re-traumatizing. So it's like talking about smartphones, like, man, we could go the gamut on that one. Yeah.
Okay, good.
You're in good shape here.
Yeah, and then it's like when I started doing the research too, whatever, it showed how like African Americans, not only African Americans, but African American senior adults, how they're less likely to use these digital technology. I looked at one research from Sale et al. In 2019 to show like they're not comfortable with it. They feel that their security would be jeopardized or and things like that if they can't afford it, especially if they're from like an impoverished community.
Yep,
Oh yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So I speak once a week to my little mentees in China, and I ask them, how is it that China is now able to keep your COVID rates down so low?
Mhm.
And they said, well, whenever we go on public transportation, which is most of the time, we have a QR code on our cell phone, and we take our temperature, and it registers to our QR code. Then we get on this public transportation. If anybody has a breakout from that transportation, they know exactly where to find people and quarantine them.
Wow. Actually, I just downloaded the application on my phone, whatever, to where it's like it'll detect anybody in my vicinity that has anybody in my area that has tested positive for COVID. It'll send me, it'll notify me on my phone.
What app was that?
Yeah, they sent me a notification saying download this app, whatever. It's a COVID screening app.
I'm gonna go get it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I downloaded it, whatever. So if I come into contact or if I'm around anybody in my little bubble or circle, whatever, it'll know me that this person has tested positive for COVID.
Isn't that amazing?
It
Wow.
is. It is. And I told my husband a long time ago, I said, we should create an app.
Now here it is. Dang it. Dang it.
I
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Well, Angela, you can stay on if you want to, but with an exemplar, it's all on. Yeah.
Do you think I want to hear everybody else's?
All right. Then I'm going to stop your recording,
Uh-huh.
and we're going to put